Hi guys, we're here at the Starin booth at InfoComm 2019. My name is Sydney Braat. I'm here on behalf of Systems Contractor News. I'm here with Luke Jordan of Electroacoustics and Alesia Hendley at The Smooth Factor.
Yeah.
So how are you guys feeling? We're at the last day of InfoComm. How are you feeling?
How are you feeling, Luke?
I feel a little gnarly.
Yeah, I'm feeling...
You guys got the t-shirts out?
Yeah.
Today's my comfy day.
I had my t-shirt on, my V-neck on, the other day when he wasn't wearing his V-neck, apparently.
Well, I had to look good yesterday. Today, it's about me.
All right.
And these V-necks are a big accomplishment, I hear.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty big deal.
I lobbied for about 15 months to get them made.
Okay.
So when Avixa rebranded, they asked, what can we do that we've never done before? And I half-jokingly said, make a piece of clothing I can wear outside of a convention center and feel comfortable about myself.
Get it?
And so I went with the V-neck, and I actually made my own prototype. My mother-in-law has like a little vinyl cutter.
Nice.
Wow.
So I made one. And so they went on Twitter this year and kind of said, hey, who would wear a V-neck? And people were like, we would. So me.
Mm-hmm.
So they had them available at the store this year, which is super fun.
Yeah.
Some kind of organic grassroots.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I saw it on
Guerrilla
Twitter, and I was
marketing.
like, yo, I had hit him up in his DMs like, how can I get one of those V-necks? Because
They look awesome. So
I'm going to go back today and grab some more because now the store is 50% off today. So
oh my gosh.
I'm going to get 2 more. I actually bought some for some students that are attending the show with Event U and the Loop Lab and Integrate Baltimore. I bought them all t-shirts.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's amazing.
So
Well,
it's awesome.
this being my first InfoComm, I think I've been most shocked that people are so friendly in this industry. You walk around, everyone's willing to talk with you and teach you, and it's a really easy industry to kind of get to know and meet
yeah.
people, and you two being some of those people.
It's all about community, right, Luke?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
Well, for one way, we have a small industry, so that's part of it. I think we're not big enough that you can't not bump into each other. And so if you are not focused on being relatable and working with people, at some point for the manufacturer side, you're probably going to work for the person you're competing with by the time your career is over. And so you definitely don't want to burn bridges. And as an integrator, the way I view manufacturers, their whole job is not really to make products. Their job is to support the people that sell and install and use their products. It's all about the people. I mean, AV is about people. It's about communication, all that. It's not about technology. Technology is how we help people. But so it's a small industry. Everyone knows everyone. People, hop around. So if you don't take the time to listen to people's stories and get to know who they are and what drives them, it's just get out.
Yeah,
It makes it
you got to
hard
invest
so.
in the younger generation for sure. I mean, those people will be in your places someday. So
I make it a point to not only connect with the younger generation, but I make it a point to connect with people I consider to be legends, or giants in the industry who've paved the way for people like us to come and hang out and learn and continue to pass down that knowledge, because that's what's important to me.
absolutely. So there's thousands of products on this floor. What's been your favorite? What's one product that's really stuck with you in the last few days?
For me, the crowd mics over in Biamp, it's not necessarily a revolutionary technology, but it was pretty cool because you guys know I love Catchbox.
Oh, yeah.
And what they have done is they developed the app where you download the app, you press the microphone button, and you speak into it, and it becomes your microphone. And a moderator can have one, and the person in the audience can have it. Anybody can download it and communicate, right? But not only can you communicate, from a moderator point of view to an audience point of view, but you can do polls within this app, put them up on your screen. The only thing that's not integrated into it yet is social media. That's what I would like to see
Interesting.
be brought into it, because I want my social up on the screen, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But polling, that's huge for a live event, Avixa does it at Tide, so it's very helpful. And
I don't remember the last I'm going to say conference I went to where they didn't do live polling to kind of get a feel for how does this content really tie into the people in this room.
Exactly.
It's one thing to have a national, so I'm cutting you off. It's one thing to have a national survey and to get all this, independent marketing research done to say this is how this demographic in America feels about this thing. But then to bring that to an AV conference or to anyone, and then to ask the people in the room, how do you relate to this?
Right.
It's powerful.
It's
totally agree with you.
You're getting that data right there, right then at that second, and then putting it up on the screen for everybody else to see. So I thought that was really cool. And if you do love Catchbox as much as I do, you can integrate it into the same box as the application itself.
Catchbox owes you money.
Catchbox are my friends.
Yes.
But yeah, what are you checking out, Luke?
So my first InfoComm. This is my fourth InfoComm.
Okay.
So my first one, I was super overwhelmed and didn't know anyone. My second one is where I really got to know people and was still overwhelmed.
Yep.
Last year was the first year that I wasn't just intimidated by the size and volume and activity, and I think I had developed some really deep relationships. That's where I met Alesia.
Yep.
For the first time. We were on Twitter for like 2 years.
Yep.
But it was the first time we met in person, which is another super fun aspect to
That's the best part about it.
to our industry. Excuse me.
I didn't know you were only 4 years in. I'm 3. This is my 3rd year here.
Get it, girl.
Get it, Luke.
Boy. but the more comfortable I get coming to this thing and networking and seeing the products, as great as that is, and that's really half the pull for me. Year to year, I don't see as many significant advances.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has to be that way.
Yeah, it doesn't
what's the it's in computing. Intel has this it's not Morton's law. It's something that the goal. So Intel's goal was to double the amount of processing power while decreasing the size of their chips every year or 2 years. And eventually they did hit a point where it's like, okay, well maybe every 5 years.
Right,
We're running out of space. But the goal is to have a specific ramp up time that you want innovation to happen. And there's no right or wrong answer. Some industries you're going to have very little innovation. When you first start working out, you lose 15 pounds. You're like, this is great, and it takes you a year to lose another 15.
Yeah.
Because that low-hanging fruit, once you have it, well, then you got the hard work.
Right.
So year to year, I don't think you see a ton of innovation.
Change, yeah.
So some of the booths, you go out there and I say, what's new? And I said, well, we dropped this firmware release for InfoComm, and it's going to open up this, and this. It improves performance on this, and this. It adds enterprise network security features that we didn't have before.
Right.
And that's all super important. And all that in like a firmware release is significant.
Right.
But at the same time, there's no new products. They are just tapping into the potential of their existing lineup.
Exactly.
And using that more effectively, which is important.
Future proofing, and that's something that I spoke with Intel about yesterday in the booth.
Yeah.
And how they're using their products to basically pipeline the future. Like if you need this right now, great. But in the future, when you scale, whether it be video-wise or audio-wise, or just boost your system and grow it overall, you can do that because they produce products to where it's future-proof. Or that's basically their product line. They try to make sure that you can ensure a future with one product instead of having to buy product after product after product after product. You know. Mm-hmm. So that's helpful for an integrator, especially, and an end user, because the end user doesn't want to have to go back and buy things over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for me, kind of going in line with the small tweaks and upgrades instead of this is
innovation.
Never been done before.
Yeah, never been done.
Was actually Screenbeam.
I need to go check.
So they do the wireless video collaboration, and that's been out for a while, and it seems like everyone's got a version of it now.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of them. I've used a lot of them. I've sold a lot of them, and they work great. Sorry, my day 3 voice.
Yeah.
it's rough. But what I thought was really impressive is they definitely are paying attention to enterprise network security. So you've got the ability to be on the network. You've got 2 radio cards so that you can create your own broadcast or even just connect to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So just is my understanding. If I get it wrong, I'm sorry, Screenbeam. But what was the coolest thing to me is they work natively with Windows and Apple and Android. And it really is, someone said it's plug and play. I'm like, well, you don't have to plug.
Yeah.
So they use native wireless integration that's built into the operating systems. So I didn't know this. You do the Windows key and the K button and it on Windows 10, and it pulls out a little side panel, and it automatically detects it, and you just hit connect. So you don't have to go to a web address to download a client. There's no software. You don't have to plug something in. You don't have to install a driver. You just connect.
I gotta go check that out.
And you can do extended desktop or screen mirroring, so that's really cool. But it also works natively with Apple AirPlay the same way. So if you have an Apple device, you can swipe down, connect. Same thing on the Mac. It's natively built in, so you don't have to download anything. It's already connecting. Yeah. So obviously, there's some setup that has to happen when you install it. But so I was just super impressed with that. I'm not aware of another company that's doing it that directly.
I actually had read about it in the daily, so I've been meaning to stop by there and check it out.
Running out of time.
It's day 3, so this is me making my last rounds.
The clock is ticking here.
So I was really impressed by that. I think every great innovation starts with somebody saying, "Don't you just hate it when?"
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I feel like at some point someone said, "Don't you hate it when your video collaboration suite works perfectly, but trying to get it to connect is 2 steps and it should be 1."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
I was very impressed with that.
That's a good one. I gotta go check that out.
I think so. So I'm sure you guys leave InfoComm every year feeling incredibly inspired and ready to take on a lot of things. But what's the one thing from this year that's really inspiring you to make change in your careers and your personal lives and moving forward?
Well, not only from this year, but overall, my focus has been learning more of the IT. I was really tired of running on my audio networks and my video and lighting. All my boards, were running over a network, and if the network went down, I couldn't do anything about it. I just sit there twiddling my thumbs, and that's not me. If there's a problem, I want to fix it. So I've been really into learning the IT side of our business and finding out how we can no longer make this a buzzword and not just be a buzz, and how we actually converge it. And I really try to focus on that because I feel like if I don't learn the IT side, then I was going to be out of a job. So I went to go work for a manufacturer that did it really well in the AV space. And here at the show floor, that was something that I was interested in learning. So that's why Screenbeam, is it Screenbeam?
Screenbeam.
Screenbeam.
I think you beam your video to the screen.
That's why it's interesting, you know what I'm saying? Because it has a lot of network protocols in it, and that's where our industry is going. So I've been interested in learning a lot about that. And then also in the audio pavilion, had to go check out those D-Lives, baby. Allen and Heath, they're my favorite boards. I had to go check them out. They've got a lot of new products coming out. And firmwares, as you've mentioned. Not necessarily products, but they update their firmwares, and they do some really unique things. For all the audio heads, they now have MCAs for your monitor mixes instead of DCAs, so that was fabulous. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
You're making things happen.
Yeah, so I learned a lot about gear technically. I didn't attend as much sessions as I would have liked, but it's been a busy show.
I know. There's never enough time.
Yeah.
I wish it was like a 2-week show, but I also know that I probably couldn't survive more than 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. We all like to say we'd like it to be longer, but by this day we're like, okay.
I'm tapped out. It's funny. You'll go into a booth on day 3. I love day 3 because it's quieter. It's not as crazy, and people are honestly a little more direct.
Right.
Because they don't have the ability to be as polished. So I feel like you have more real conversations. But you walk in and I'm kind of like, hey, I'm tired, but I want to know about this, and they're like, I want to tell you about it, but I'm kind of tired too. So day 3 is a brotherhood of people trying to work together.
Our feet are sore. We've got dark circles under our eyes, but
here's a fashion tip for that. I learned this from Megan Dutta. Eye masks.
Oh yes,
so
the eye mask.
Every morning this week, I've woken up, taken a shower, brushed my teeth, put on an eye mask. I get dressed, and then I go down to the hotel lobby, throw it in the trash as I get into my Uber, and my eyes.
Wait all the way down to the lobby.
Well, yeah. It says
I don't think you're supposed to do
it says to wear for 20 minutes, but my eyes are not puffy.
Yeah,
sure.
You look great.
Well, good tip. I need to use that for next year.
Now you know. For me, learning how to run a business is something that I am fully confident I will never be good enough at or know enough about it. But the AV industry, I mean, kind of going back to the point earlier about how it's just friendly. People want to help each other out. So it's been just a really great experience getting to meet with owners, presidents, CEOs, leaders, get-it-doners in manufacturing, other integrators, even just people in marketing that I mean, kind of like what SCN Future is doing. Like, I'm learning from all of you, and developing those relationships. And I mean, it sounds weird, like this is like part of my job, but just creating memories and experiences with these people. And then when I have a big win, I can call somebody, and it's not bragging, because one, they're out of market, so they are genuinely just happy for me, because it's not taking away from future potential business for them. But then they are kind of in my same shoes in a different part of the world, but they have gone through those same growing pains. They have had those same wins, and a lot of the same thing. I can call them when I lose a job or when something's frustrating or when I have questions.
Right.
So being able to meet people within our industry that understand the specific like niche complexities and issues that our industry is up against, AVIT convergence and all kinds of tariffs, all kinds of fun stuff. In SCA, I was talking with Kelly Perkins earlier. About the federal regulation about coding 70 volt as a high voltage trade and requiring light. And so, NSCA is fighting that battle, and I'm getting educated about that and learning how I can be involved. And so
There's a lot to learn. There's a lot.
I'm a little bit rambling, but
there's a lot to learn.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's InfoComm. There's a lot you learn at this show, right?
But so for me, the technology has been great, but the key for me is how do I come back and make good, sound decisions
As a businessman.
that make sure we are everyone. You got to be
as a businessman.
No, I mean I think a lot of people in leadership positions or who are heading for those positions.
Right.
I think you've got to like AV.
Gotta like it a little bit.
You've got to like it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's fun too when you have people that have been in the industry for 20 years and they're like, well, I've always been on the business administration or marketing, or they know about it, but they don't really. They've never mixed sound. They've never been a musician or a performer. They've never but they still love what our industry accomplishes and how we do it and what.
I mean, how can you not? Look at this place.
No. We do the fun stuff. That's how I got into AV. A lot of my dad's friends were professionals. They were lawyers or CPAs, and at 6 years old, I didn't really know what that was. But my dad, who owns our company, it was very clear to me what he did. Because I could point to it and say, that sounds good. It's loud. I like that. Or those lights are cool. We control those.
Yeah.
And so I was drawn to that. But then I think you're drawn to the tech. But then I think you fall in love with helping people, developing people's careers, making them better leaders. I've got a 4-year-old, and it's hard to explain what AV is to a 4-year-old. It is. We make Paw Patrol work.
There you go.
Yeah.
Patrol.
Yeah, like
But he when I leave to go to work, he says, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to go."
the same position at the lunch table, so you just get in there and you're just chopping it up, and everyone's got
Yeah.
their opinions, and you're learning and they're learning, and that was awesome.
And the networking is often the part that's most raved about from survey results, because
Yeah.
you have one day, it's a lot in one day, but you're getting some of the industry's best people, and it's
True.
kind of getting better and better each time. So this
Good.
August, on August 1st, we'll have it at City Field, which is pretty cool because I'm
And
from
where-
New York,
and
so
where
of
is it? New
course.
York? Okay.
Yeah, so City Field, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. We're really looking forward to it. So.
But no, that was great. I think my favorite panel, we had an architect, two architects, an integrator, and IT manager. And so the three of them were just talking about when and why and how they should collaborate at what point during a project to make sure that when we get to the end of the project, AV, IT, and the aesthetic space all work together to accomplish the critical mission that the building was built for.
Yeah.
That was
Instead of
fantastic.
one working and then another one coming in as an aftermath, and then having to work with it.
Right.
That's
And then doing,
so genius.
Or getting to the end and having just tons of change orders and extra costs to the owner
Yep.
to do what should have been done the first time because no one talked. So that was great.
No one
And then
that.
shameless plug is you get 5.5 CTS RUs. So certification is a big part of our industry, but we need more. And so having a CTS does two things.
Tell me.
One, I'll tell you.
Tell me.
So one, having a CTS is something you can prove to yourself. If you want to become an expert at something but you know very little, the best way is to go get that information and learn it. And so the CTS, it is how AV is done. When I got my CTS 6 years ago, I was the first one from my company that ever gotten it, and it was actually validation for us that for 35 years we had been doing it the right way, because there's this governing body that had gotten integrators, designers, people from all over the industry as subject matter experts to curate this content and verify it, and we were doing it just right by the book. There's a couple things that we actually did tweak. And then also when you talk to your clients, you can say, well, this is, the right way to do it. And they say, well, do you have anything on that? I want to learn about it too to make sure that I understand what lines you're feeding me. And you can just give that to them and say, well, here's this independent board. This isn't sales pitch of me saying, well, I want to sell this, so I'm telling you should have it. So that's been fantastic. The other thing, and I love stories, certification 100% changes lives from a generational perspective. So if you are, I'm going to say, let's start with the perspective of a young person. If you are coming into the industry and you don't have a legacy of education in your family, and I'm not all touting a four-year university. This could be trade school, vocational school, bachelor's, whatever. But books are one of the most amazing things. I rediscovered my love for reading a few years ago, and you read it, and then you know more, and you see other people's perspectives, and you change your life based on how that has changed you. So learning and loving learning is the most important thing anyone coming in the AV industry needs to have. And certification is education and learning about what we do. So that goes hand in hand. But if you come from a legacy where you don't have that background, you don't have people in your family that went to school to learn a job or a trade or a perspective or anything like that, if you're waiting for people to pay for the CTS, if you're waiting for somebody to tell you we require this, go out and do it, you might be waiting a long time depending on what company, what state you're in.
Right.
But at any point in time, you can pony up some money, and which you might have to change your lifestyle, save for it, but I promise it's worth it. You go out and get that. You are investing in yourself. You are fixing your own self. You are saying, that's the mountain I want to climb, and then you push your boots on and you go. You're not waiting for somebody to carry you. And I think that if you figure out that I can teach myself AV with this content right here, you figure out you can teach yourself anything, that there is no barrier in life. And so you go out and you get educated, and you get a leadership position. You become a project lead. You become an engineering manager. You become the president of a company. We had the women's breakfast. The CEO of Shure Microphones started out as just like in the design department, and
She's also been there for 30 years.
And but she went out and she took what was hers, and it's incredible to watch that.
It is a journey.
And then you teach that to your kids because you understand that value. So then your kids understand the importance of education, and they go out and they follow in your footsteps because you've created that culture within your family. Generations later, your family has changed, and it started with the ability to teach yourself something and then go get something more for yourself. And I think certification does that.
Absolutely.
So you can get 5.5 CTS RUs at the AVIT Summit
in one day. It's that easy. Just show up and enjoy yourself.
Show up to the AVIT Summit. Boom. Boom.
Well, you guys, I'm so glad we got to hang out before everyone goes back to their own corners of the country. But
we going to Texas.
Yeah, we going to Texas. Dang, I really forget that we both live
We're in the
Texas
same
sometimes.
corner.
Yes, we are.
But come to New York. Come hang out with us.
I love
Megan
New
would
York.
be delighted.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you both so much for being here today, and
Thank
it was
you,
good to spend
Sydney.
time with you this week and get to know the industry better. And thanks for
Welcome.
all the work you guys do. Thank you.
You.
Thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.